Okay, so now that you have your film in your tank, what's next? Well, you have to develop it. Just like you develop photo paper in the darkroom, you use developer, water, fix, and water. The only difference is film is a lot more sensitive to temperature than photo paper, so you have to really watch out. Now, your developer is in this jug here, and it's concentrated, so you have to mix it half and half with water. So you take 150 milliliters of the developer from the jug, and you're going to take 150 milliliters of water from the tap. And you want to make sure this water is lukewarm, not cold, because the two together have to be over 20 degrees warm or the whole process doesn't work. And because this tank sits overnight and gets quite chilly, you want to make sure the water is warmer so that when you mix the two together, it will actually work together. Now, so you take a new beaker, you put your 150 milliliters of developer in, you add your 150 milliliters of water that's lukewarm, add it in, and now you need to know the temperature. So you take this over to the sink, walk it over to the sink, and on our sink we have a thermometer. So we take the thermometer and we put it into the developing tank and we let it sit for a minute or two, or 30 seconds probably is enough. We just wait for the temperature to adjust. We can watch the mercury go up. Once we're ready, we look at it and we say, oh, okay, we are reading 23 degrees or 24 degrees actually on here. So 24 degrees is good. So I know I have 24 degrees in here. So I'm going to take this back to my developing station. And at my developing station, I can look at the sign that tells me how much time I'm going to need. So up on the wall, there's a chart that will tell me how much time I need. So if I look at that chart, it will tell me right up here, it will tell me 24 degrees means 9 minutes of developing time. So now I know, all right, I need 9 minutes of developing time. So if I can go back to my tank, here's my tank. Okay, and I'm going to take my combination of these two together and pour it into my tank. Once it's in the tank, for the first 20 seconds, I want to take the tank and I want to swoosh it around to make sure the film is nicely coated with the developer. And it gets a nice even developing, and then once you've done the first 20 seconds you can put it down, and then every 30 seconds or so you want to come up and shake it for 5 seconds. What that does, it releases any air bubbles that form on the film and makes sure that there's fresh developer on the film. So you have to do this for the entire 9 minutes. Once your time is finished, according to the chart, in our case 9 minutes, you take your tank, you go back to the sink, and you pour the developer down the drain. Just one nice pour down. Okay, now the next step is rinsing. So you just take water, let water run in, let it run in until you can see the water overflowing. It'll just come out past the funnel. There it is, and then empty it out, and do that one more time, just twice, just a quick rinse. And then the next step, just as in the darkroom, after rinse comes the fix. So once it's rinsed, we take this back to our station. Now, the fix is in the big black bucket that's on the wall, standing on the wall here. So what we take here, we take our beaker and we turn the dial, get 300 milliliters of the fix. Okay, so we have 300 milliliters of fix, and we pour that straight into our tank. And in this case, we want to keep this moving for the entire fixing time. And if you look on the bucket, it actually tells you how long you're supposed to fix it for. In this case, right now, it's at 2 minutes. So we're going to keep this moving for an entire 2 minutes. And this will take off all the photo emulsion and will keep your film just with the images behind. So once your 2 minutes are up, you're going to go back to the top of the bucket because we can reuse the fix. We're going to lift the lid. We're going to pour it back in. So now, our film is pretty much ready, it's safe, and it's no longer sensitive to light, but we now need to rinse it. If you don't rinse it properly, you're going to get white stuff on your film, and you want to make sure that's done. Now you have two choices. You can either fill and empty with water, so just like you did with the rinse stage, fill it and empty it, and do that for 5 minutes, or you can take the lid off at this point, Put the tank in the sink, just set it down, and put the water on just as a trickle like this. Let it sit for 5 minutes. And then, for 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, because this water is not running as much, if you're emptying, 5 minutes is enough. But if you're letting it trickle, do it for a whole 10 minutes. That way you can make sure your film is nice and clean. Once that time is finished and your film is all rinsed out, it'll look as if it's blank and has no images on it because you've washed all the emulsion off, but the images are a little further inside. So you can turn this off. The last step is that you put some photo flow on it. The photo flow sits on the side of the desk in its own beaker. Right there. If you need to mix it, the mixer is here, but usually there's a pre-mixed container here. You just take it by the spine and you swish it through here for about 10 seconds. Photo flow is sort of like dish soap. It makes bubbles, and what it does, it keeps water from drying on your film in beads, so you get a nice clean film. So once you're here, then you can take your film and just pull it off the spool, and then you should have your images on here. Then you take your film and you take it across to the other side where all the film is hanging up, and you hang it up on one of the clips onto the board. And last part is that you squeegee it off, which means you take your film when it's hanging and you just run your fingers along the film and squeeze the water out. Just once or twice, go along like this. And then your film is ready to go.